We all ready?
We are ready. Yep, I'll start your timer right now.
So, a note on topic. Flatzoid may try to bring up the motion of the Earth, modern cosmology, the vacuum of space, or gravity. However, just because he disagrees with all of science does not mean that he can assign to me a burden to defend it. I am only here to debate the shape of the Earth. Scientists knew the Earth was a sphere for centuries before gravity was even studied. They had a geocentric model with a stationary spherical Earth. Let's catch you up to speed on medieval times first before we worry about the rest. Flat earthers say their belief is the default, similar to ancient cultures, and that belief in a globe is the anomaly. This is a lie because of one simple question of cosmology. Where does the sun go at night? In general, ancient cultures believed it either went under the earth or outside the firmament to somewhere unknown. This means they assumed the whole world had one universal time of day or night. In the age of time zones, modern flat earthers try to resurrect flat earth by saying that at night the sun gets too far away to see. As we'll soon see, this claim not only separates their model from ancient ones, but also violates basic observational science. It traces back to a 19th century misfit named Samuel Robotham, and for that reason, I call it Robothamism. Robothamists use this meme a lot. It slaps your eye with an impression that their cosmology is similar to these, and assumes you will never actually research them. Well, I did, with a focus on that basic question: where does the sun go at night? In Sumerian cosmology, there was a tunnel under the earth called the Road of the Sun that the sun traveled through every night. There's a whole scene in the Epic of Gilgamesh, Tablet 9, when Gilgamesh travels along this tunnel into the underworld. In Egyptian belief, the sun god Ra traveled in a boat through the underworld every night and was reborn in the east every morning. This nightly journey was central to Egyptian religious practices and was described in great detail in the Book of Gates. In Aztec belief, the earth goddess Tlaltecutli swallows the sun every evening and vomits it again in the morning. In fact, I did my best to survey ancient cultures all over the world. I found only a small handful of isolated scraps that could be twisted to support Robothamism, and otherwise a landslide against it. Even the favorite cosmology of Robothamists, that of the ancient Hebrews, explicitly undermines them. Most of the diagrams they show for biblical cosmology take influence from this 1909 Mormon source, which in turn takes from the Book of Enoch, which describes in great detail the 6 portals in the eastern firmament and 6 in the west through which the sun enters and exits the earthly realm every morning and evening. These heavenly portals still appear in the diagrams that flat earthers parade around online to this day. And if that were not enough, Jesus himself in the Sermon on the Mount says that God makes the sun rise. The Greek word for rise, anatello, has an upward connotation, which again contradicts Robothamism. Ironically, Eric Dubé is closer to accurate when he calls your view the Vedic model than you are when you call it biblical. Speaking of the Bible, we've heard the claim there are over 200 flat earth verses. All of these are twisted out of context, and the real count is 0. There's a property of language that can be either phenomenological or ontological. Phenomenological means pertaining to phenomena, or how we perceive the world, whereas ontological means concerning the absolute nature of something apart from how we perceive it. Now, you need to realize 2 things about phenomenological language. 1, it can be quite literal, and 2, there's nothing inherently wrong or untrue about it. We use this type of language all the time. Consider some examples. Joe stood on the roof and looked down. The streets below swarmed with people the size of ants. Judy looked out the car window and watched the trees zip past. No matter how high you go, the horizon rises to your eye level. There is absolutely no reason to call these statements figurative or metaphors or lies. Each of them can be both literal and true, although the last one is not. But ontologically, there are no ant-sized people, no zipping trees, and no levitating landforms. These are simply descriptions from an observer's eye, nothing more and nothing less. And with almost every single Bible verse used by flat earthers, not one shred of context suggests an ontological view. The ontology of Earth could not be further from the verse's topic. Even flat earthers say that certain verses are phenomenological. I mentioned Matthew 5:45. There's also Ephesians 4:26. If Flatzoid says these describe how the sunrise or sunset look to an observer, that's phenomenological. If we can agree on that for these verses, why can't we for Joshua 10 or Job 38? Pick a lane, don't swerve back and forth. That's a dishonest hermeneutic. And don't ask me for a verse supporting the globe. That's a straw man. I freely admit there is none. The Bible never discusses the shape of Earth as it looks from an absolute perspective. In fact, the very concept of an absolute perspective on the Earth is a modern idea. You are back projecting that onto the text without even realizing it, and then twisting it to support your ignorance. So what do we actually observe? Well, first let's take some remedial geometry. Through any 2 points, you can draw either a straight line or a curve. To fully disambiguate, you need at least 3 points. The more the merrier. Some examples. Flat earthers love to reframe Eratosthenes' experiment with flat earth assumptions, but this only works because he measured from 2 points. Measure from a third, and flat earth is shattered. Same with Polaris. For any 2 measurements, you can make it work, kind of, on a flat earth, but with a third, you will shatter it, and so on. A similar concept here with arc length of longitude from your friend Where is Wally using 1,300 data points, but you need at least 3. Robothomism exploits this by isolating you to guarantee you never have that. They say, stop trusting what you've been told all your life and start looking at things for yourself, which really translates to don't get help from others and cripple yourself from doing much science. Well, it turns out even playing by these rules, you can get 3 points by varying time instead of location, and that's precisely what I did. This diagram is important, so we might come back to it later. This shows by simple trigonometry that a Robothomist sun would follow an arctangent function through time. I demonstrated this visually. Can you guys see that video?
Yep, we can.
I demonstrated this visually by holding a flashlight at my waist and walking straight away from the camera until it was gone. If we overlay frames at a constant interval, we see the distance between images shrinks dramatically, then sits for a long time before it's gone. That's what the arctangent function predicts. But this is not what the sun does, and I took a 3-hour time lapse to prove it. If you are trying to measure the sun's size, exposure is a problem, as you can see with this video of a filter on our camera here. To show this, I had 2 identical cameras side by side, one with welding glass and one without. But size was not the main thing I was measuring. It was position. I used a compass and sextant, pictured here, to measure hard numbers, but the footage speaks for itself. When we overlay frames like we did with the flashlight, it's completely different. The distance between images stays the same the whole time. It just pretty much goes plop straight down into the horizon below eye level. So Flatzoid, you will no doubt try to dodge this by saying sunset is an optical illusion. That's called a rescuing device, something with no positive evidence in itself, which actually contradicts other claims you make elsewhere. Unfortunately for you, we know how light refraction works, and it does not help you here. The sun absolutely does not set by moving too far away. Now pair that with the principle of time zones. Flatzoid is 6 hours ahead of me, which made scheduling this debate rather difficult. We all agree, I hope, that if I had done this exact experiment 800 miles east, it would have given identical results but an hour earlier. That means that at all times, for someone somewhere on Earth, the sun is currently going below their eye level. It cannot be both above and below a flat Earth at the same time. The only answer is that eye level is relative, changing by 1 degree every 69 miles.
1 minute.
What's that?
You have 1 minute left on the floor.
Oh, thank you. As assuredly as 1 + 1 = 2, sunset plus time zones equals globe. So Flatzoid, I want you to answer 3 challenges. Number 1, where did you or Samuel Robotham get your cosmology? If you say from the Bible, show me 1 Bible verse that clearly describes a Robothamist local sun. Number 2, without being selective, explain to me how the sun goes up and down in Matthew 5:45 and Ephesians 4:26. I want you to apply your own logic to yourself. If saying that's how it appears denies God's word in Joshua 10, then it does so here as well. Give me a consistent hermeneutic. And number 3, I measured the sunset and proved it goes beneath us. If you disagree, then explain where I went wrong. Show the math, show the missing factor, show a scientific theory that explains my evidence. Thank you.